Welcome to this edition. Today we'll be looking at the topic, cost of acting on your feeling. Are you a man given to anger? Do you have pride in saying that you are short-tempered? Are you always overcome by emergencies that you act impulsively? Do you lack self-control? Then this message is for you. Now, let us take some scriptures. Go with me to 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 9 to 19. 1 Kings 19. 9 to 19. And he came thither unto a cave and lodged there. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him. And he said unto him, What doest thou here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts. For the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thy altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And he said, Go forth and stand upon the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains and brake in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. And it was so, when Elijah heard it, that he wrapped his face in his mantle, and went out and stood in the entering of the cave. And behold, there came a voice unto him, and said, What doest thou here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts, because the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thy altar, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And the Lord said unto him, Go, return thy way to the wilderness of Damascus, and when thou comest, anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. And Jehu the son of Nimshi shalt thou anoint to be king over Israel. And Elisha the son of Shaphat of Ebal Meholat shalt thou anoint to be prophet in thy room. And it came to pass that him that escaped the sword of Hazael shall Jehu slay, and him that escaped the sword of him of Hazael shall Jehu slay, and him that escaped from the sword of Jehu shall Elisha slay. Yet I have left me 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which had not kissed him. And he departed thence and found Elisha the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and with the 12th. And Elisha passed by him and cast his mantle upon him. We shall also look at the book of Romans chapter 8, verse 8. And it says, So then they that are in the flesh cannot please God. And finally, for now, we shall also look at Ephesians chapter 2, verse 3. Among whom also we all had our conversation in times past in the lusts of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. The topic before us today is the cost of acting on your feeling. Elijah was a pronounced and prominent prophet of God, but he made mistakes which are recorded for our learning today. Elijah felt that he was rejected, that he was hated by everyone, that they wanted to kill him, that he was the only prophet of God remaining. How often we feel things that are not indeed true. These feelings of Elijah were not true and did not represent the truth. Elijah knew that there were 100 other prophets because Obadiah told him so. Let us look at 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 13. 1 Kings 18, verse 13. Was it not told my Lord what I did when Jezebel slew the prophets of the Lord, how I hid 100 men of the Lord's prophets by 50 in a cave and fed them with bread and water? So he could not say that he did not know that there were 100 prophets of God, because Obadiah told him that. But because of the way he felt, Elijah wanted to die. Was that the best option? And I want to ask you today, sometimes when you meet some unpleasant, unsavory situations, you may want to die. Is that the best option? Is that the best option under the situation and circumstance? Obviously, no. Don't indulge your feelings. Don't act on your feelings. There was a man who challenged, here was a man in the person of Elijah who challenged the king to his face. Here was a man who killed 850 prophets of Baal. And here he claimed that he wanted to die. And here the same man was running away from a woman. Was running away from a woman. 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 2 and 3. God asked Elijah the same question twice. And note this, when God asks you the same question twice, it means that you did not get the first one right. Our God is a God of second chance. God gave Elijah the second chance to answer correctly. Yet, Elijah failed again by giving the same answer. Because of his feeling, Elijah cut short his ministry. 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 4. He said he wanted to die, that enough was enough. I thank God that he does not deal with us as we deserve. But God said to him, well, if that is what you want, if you want to cut short your ministry, that's okay. God granted him that. But before then, God gave him 3 specific instructions to fulfill before coming home. The first instruction was, go and anoint Hazael king over Syria. The second instruction was, go anoint Jehu king over Israel. The third instruction was, go anoint Elisha to replace you, and then you will be good to go. But because of his feelings, Elijah quickly went and looked for Elisha and anointed him prophet to replace him. and failed to carry out the first two instructions God gave him. Nevertheless, God accorded him a spectacular journey to heaven unsurpassed in the history of mankind. A man in authority must be very careful of his decisions and his actions, because what he says and does affects so many people. I am a professor of public administration, and I know the far-reaching consequences of decisions made by leaders. I know how much the subjects suffer for wrong decisions by leaders. Elijah was a man in authority, and his actions and inactions arising from his feelings affected far too many people. Let us see. 1. The death of Naboth by Ahab was the result of Elijah's failure to anoint Jehu king of Israel as God instructed him. 1 Kings chapter 21 verse 13 and 1 Kings chapter 19 verse 15. Secondly, the Samaritan woman who ate her son was the consequence of famine occasioned by Israel's invasion of Samaria, because Elijah indulged his feelings and disobeyed God. People died as a result. 3. What more Elijah would have accomplished if he stayed in his office, only God knows. But he cut short his ministry because of his feelings. The rule of thumb is, don't act on your feelings. Don't act when you are angry. Your feelings are not necessarily true. Rather, act from your heart. Another critical example can just be mentioned in 2 Samuel chapter 10, the entire chapter 10, where over 40,700 people died in an unprovoked battle. Here, let me recall the story. David sent to sympathize with a young king who lost his father. Now the advisors advised this young man that David did not send those men to sympathize with him on the death of his father, but to spy on their country with a view to warring against them. This young man believed them and prepared for battle, and actually launched war against David. Of course, David was a great fighter. He defeated him soundly, resulting in the death of over 40,700 people. Let that be an eye-opener to what consequences can result in acting on your feeling. Sometimes you have had cause to call somebody on phone several times and not picking. You conclude that he didn't want to pick your call. Invariably, it has not been that he did not want to pick your call. Either the call was on silent, or he was not with his phone, or something. When you find out, you discover it was your presuppositions are wrong. Therefore, I plead with us, let us never act on our feelings. Let us never indulge our feelings. Act rather from the heart. God bless you.